Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Afternoon FM. Today, I am joined by Christina, Amira, Khalil, running for U.S. Senator. Thank you for stopping by.
Well, thank you for having me.
We're going to go a little bit into her background, some of her reviews, it's been actually an amazing conversation prior to the damn podcast. I kind of wish it was running, but subscribe and
subscribe. You'll get the background access.
Capitalism.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna go in a little bit. Christina, thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me. What's the first question?
Tell me a little bit about. Tell me where you're from. Tell me about your early life.
Oh gosh. Okay, that is pretty loaded. So I'm a first generation from Egypt, and the war on drugs broke up my family. So I wound up growing up in foster care, but I would say my safe haven, which was short stops growing up. Not many places know this, is the Conklin Youth Shelter. It's the staff there that was pretty much caring and loving and provided the structure. And when we didn't want to eat, they would not force us to eat. They would encourage us to eat. It was just there was no, because people think, with homeless youths or youth with going in between foster homes, that there'd be a lot of fighting, but we were family. And that's the thing about other foster kids. We always, because we don't have much, we would always lean on each other. And it was just pretty much a great, I wouldn't trade my upbringing for a lot. In the beginning it was hard, because it's a lot of people are just I wish I had a family, I wish I had this, but as I got older, I had my family. I had a home, I had multiple homes, and my family only just expanded. It didn't get limited.
I feel that a lot too. It's when I was younger, I don't know, it's weird. My dad's my family is all Lebanese immigrants, and my grandfather, he worked in a coat factory, in a kind of this setting for a very, very long time. And they just kind of clawed their way into America, and then it's weird because he built the family up to this point, and then he propped my father, basically my dad got to stand on the giant at that point, and then my dad just I don't know, he just never, but it was a lot of ego, but we were very, very poor as kids. But it's weird because there's so much loss that you end up taking that are it hardens you, but it makes you kind of prepared for what the world will give you. You know what I mean? It was well, it's what experience does, though. It really you see, if you have a wide spectrum of the world, you can relate from this point of the spectrum, and you can relate to that point of the spectrum.
100%. And I learned so much. One Thanksgiving, me and a whole bunch of people, because we didn't have family, we were just let's try and celebrate Thanksgiving together. We tried to make pumpkin pie by actual pumpkins.
Wait, what?
And it was the hardest experience, and the people that were coming back, we were just we're gonna make you pumpkin pie. So as we're failing, we decided to go run to the store, buy the pumpkin in the can, come back and fix everything. And when we hosted it, we lied to everybody, saying it was so successful. Everyone's oh my God, this is from real pumpkin. We're yeah, this is from real pumpkin. And it was one of the best Thanksgivings that I ever had, because we just learned, and I learned how to cook everything from scratch because of that, because I was reading the recipes online, reading recipes and books and just trying to like use our imaginations. Like, I think this would work together. And, you know, my partner, my boyfriend, and has had homemade 2 Thanksgivings. We would do one at his family's house, and then I would do another one at our house, because it's just now a tradition where I just cook everything from scratch, except for the pumpkin pie. But it's nice.
Yeah, tell me a little bit, like, how is so when did you start getting, like, tell me a little bit, like, how when you were going into college, like.
So college, school was my safe haven. And I got good grades, and I missed the application deadline of college going to graduation. And you know, you meet a lot of people in foster care, and one of the people I met in foster care was like, hey, you know, I think you should go to college, not sign up for the military. And a lot of people were against me signing up for the military because of, you know, concerns like, you know, it might not.
Were you interested in the military?
I thought that was my only option in life. Because growing up in foster care, there's nothing to help transition out of it. Unless you're lucky and you have a family, you know, that truly cares about you, which I didn't. They were, you're on your own at 18. Unless you wind up in one of those rare programs until you're 21, there's nothing, you're just on your own. And a lot of foster care kids, like, if you don't wind up 18, a lot of us wind up going missing. No one looks for us because we're labeled as runaways. That bothered me. A lot of us wind up struggling with, well, some people wind up struggling with addiction. Some people wind up just in jail. You can have false charges pressed against you, but because you don't have family, you don't have access to a lawyer, you don't have access to money, the system, you think, okay, this is what's happening, this is what's supposed to happen, nobody's there protecting you, and you wind up falsely incarcerated or falsely, you know, harmed, or you don't have a voice when you're younger. And then a lot of us are like over medicated when we're younger. And I say us as in we are our own community, and we look out for each other. We had to look out for each other. So it was just, and the adults never really protected us. But going into college, I didn't think I was going to go into college, honestly. And I had this one person that said, hey, look, if you're interested in going into college, I'll talk to this guy and we'll see what happens. And I got accepted. After the deadline, I got accepted. And I thought this was an experience I would actually never have. And then going into college, I remember, you know, I met a lot of rich people, and it was a good and a bad time in college. And it was great because I'm around my peers, I'm continuing my education, and I have an ability, I have a chance that not many of us get. And, you know, the people around me, they were inspired, they were like, I'm so happy. So then I felt the pressure to graduate. So it was just like, oh, there's no room for messing up, because you have to graduate, because now, you know, the people around you are just like, you have this opportunity. So then, but then also in college, because there were so many rich people, it was, oh, you know, let's go on a cruise, let's do this. I was working 2 jobs. I
felt that shit. I feel
that
shit a lot.
I was working 2 jobs, living in the dorms, and every like 4 months I have to move. And then when I moved to where I was staying at, it was like I was unwelcomed while I was there. So it was just so much stress, because I would dread the end of the semester. And they would always make it clear how much they did not want me around, but they were just doing it because the one person wanted me around, so there was a fight. And so it was, and then, oh, you can't go on this cruise, you can't travel here, you can't do this. And then they would stop hanging out with me because I wasn't rich. And I'm just like, and I wasn't sitting there explaining my situation to people because I didn't feel like I had to. And it's like, you know, if you're not going to be my friend anymore because I don't have money, then that's on you, that's not on me. So it was just, but it was a good time because I learned so much. I expanded my education, I expanded my mind, and it gave me a perspective on life. And that's where it really started, because it was just, I started questioning politics. Why can't we all have this? Why is this only gifted? Like, I lucked out, and, you know, I know a few other people have lucked out where we just happen to have this path, but why can't this be for everyone? And that's when it dawned on me that education's the key to freedom. Education's the key to not repeating a generational traumatic cycle. Education is how you're going to break out of this, and not many people, and it's not fair that not many people have that education. So then after college, I took a break, and I was just like, you know, what am I going to do with life? So then I dabbled in dog training, and I dabbled in security, and I dabbled in social work, and I was just like, I wound up in Patterson.
How was social work? Was you doing social work in Patterson?
Yeah, so I didn't have my master's degree, and this is what prompted me to going back into school is okay, so I was working at this Mommy and Me program. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name. In Patterson. I'm sure it's self-explanatory at this point, because there's only one Mommy and Me.
Shout out to Mommy and Me.
Yes. Oh. And it was moms to be, pregnant moms in recovery, and reuniting mothers with their kids in recovery. And it was a really nice program. The kids were so joyful, and the parents were so grateful, and it was such a good experience. And but the management was the problem. And I remember there was we were in a team meeting, and I went to the supervisor, and I said, look, this mom is starting to show me red flags. I think we need to, because that was part of her job, I think we need to do an intervention, because I think she's going to relapse, and we need to intervene, and whatever support she needs, we need to provide it for her. And the supervisor looked me dead straight in my face, and she said, I don't care about her. And then a few weeks later, yeah, I don't care. We'll talk about someone that's more important. I was just like, that pissed me off in that moment. And 2 weeks later, the mom overdosed. Jesus. And had 2 beautiful kids. And luckily, she was able to be Narcaned and come back, and I don't know where she is today. And I went to human resources, because there's like, hey, if there's a complaint, someone's not being ethical, and blah, 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 file a complaint. I went to human resources, and they didn't care. So I was like, I'm putting my 2 weeks in, because I can't. It's humanity at that point. Yeah, I'm just like, you guys care about the money, but you don't care about the people. Yeah. So I wound up leaving, and then I wound up going back to college, and that's when we met. And because I was working at security at the time, and then when we met, my director at the time was an ex-Hackensack narcotic detective. There's a nice, wonderful story, but I'm gonna wait until my opponents drop that bomb so that I can.
No, what's it called? No, just the way you were talking about how, like, you put in your 2 weeks after, you know, they treated that poor woman as like a statistic, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's the thing. That's I don't know what the thing was. I don't know if it was. I think it was the Pattersonian. But that's the whole, like, the idea behind that is the only, like, other news source that's that's local to the city. There's like Tap into Patterson is actually it's a little statistical as well, but it's like, you know, just reverberation. It's a lot more content. And the Patterson Times is it's just they just treat everybody like this.
And that's heartbreaking, because we're human beings. Everyone's a human being. This so mom, every one of us. Yeah, and like every client I work with, I'm not gonna say, like, you know, there are some clients that do get on my nerves, but I'm not gonna treat them any differently. I'm going to treat them as a human being, because you know what? Yeah, they're extra, but they have a traumatic background that makes them extra. Yeah, no, and it's not, but it's not a bad thing either. It's like understanding. Okay, so all right, they need some extra attention, or they need some extra guidance. There's so many adults. We're all one. Yeah. No, we're really all one. There are so many adults that do not know how to read and write. Yeah. And it's not their fault. It's the fault of our systems. Yeah, yeah. And I feel like it's just like
if the system was a river, and like we're trying to build this dam, it's like there's just shit fucking like everywhere.
It's literally.
No, it's just there's too much. It's just too much shit. Yeah. It's
and it's like
too many moving parts of an engine that wasn't designed to go this long. But
definitely.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's a beautiful car. I don't know. Yeah, but
and then during
I love America. I love America. It's not like Don King.
Love Patterson.
I love America.
Stop making me laugh so hard. You're making me lose my train of thought.
It's all good. Fucking rock with it. No, I agree. It's just, you can see the failures of the system, but like, it's weird. At least for me. I lived in Los Angeles for a very long time, and Los Angeles is a mess.
I could just imagine. I hear stories.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't know. Like, well, the two of them is I lived in Los Angeles and I lived in San Francisco. In San Francisco, I feel like I had this Paris type of ideal of San Francisco. I was like, yeah, this is like the tech capital of the world. This is where like Facebook and Google and everybody's headquartered over. I thought everything was robots.
I literally thought it was utopia in San Francisco.
You thought it was utopia?
Yeah.
There's so much human shit on the street. It's insane. It's insane. There's a real-time map of how much feces are on the street. And I don't know why. But I mean, I've never homeless people, but it's like,
yeah, I've never been there, but the way it's advertised and talked about, it's like a utopian. Everyone gets along and loves each other.
3 hours north, completely different place. There's like people on quads and guns and like,
maybe that's what they advertise.
No. I mean, I thought it would be this whole different vibe. And Los Angeles is kind of, it's like. Los Angeles is his whole vibe. Every city is its own vibe. Patterson is a very it's a very particular vibe. It's not a vibe of like any other city. It's like it feels a little New Yorky, and it has a little bit of that Baltimore thing, but it's definitely like its own thing where it's cultural, and that's what I love about it. Like that's what you said, like you know how like you had all these experiences and like early in your life. Growing up around here, it's like, yo, I'm cool with Dominicans, like Arabs, fucking Peruvians, you know what I mean, Jewish community, black people, white people, like Italians, you know what I mean, like everybody's here, so it's like you can't really.
It's a melting pot. It's a beautiful. I really think Patterson, because again, like it's where I started in my career towards politics, and just seeing all the disruption in life, and I'm just like, you know. People need more protection. And people, I truly believe my model is we run the country, not the politicians. If 25% of Americans decided to stop working for 1 week, we would start crashing. 25% America would start going down the drain. 25% of Americans decide to stop working for an entire month, we would be in trouble.
Yeah.
If 25% of Americans said we're protesting and we're not working until you fix us and give us what we want, America would be in trouble. Now if that 25 turned into 30%,
we're done.
Anyone could come in and take over. We would crash. So without the people, you don't have the country.
Yeah.
And if you're not giving us our basic needs, where it's a safe environment, clean water, because there are right now at least a minimum of 34 towns with contaminated water that we just can't drink the water.
Yeah. You're included sometimes. So we'll get like an email. It's like, hey, chill.
Just chill.
Chill for the day.
And try not to boil your water because it makes the chemicals worse.
Just chill. Just don't. Just pull and spring and shit. Have some mango. Yeah.
And it's like education, and healthcare.
You trust New York water? I remember when I was in New York, people were like, dude, you could drink water from the tap. And I was like, I couldn't. Yeah, exactly.
You know
We got an
what?
off-camera shrug over here.
You know what? That's so interesting you said that. My
I don't think it's the water. I think it's the pipes leading into the water.
well, no, my best friend lives in New York.
Yeah.
And she said when she moved to New York, the water helped clear her skin. New Jersey water makes her break out. So I do think that New York's a little...
And then there's my aunt's house's water. Shout out to Aunt Olga. You gotta clean the asbestos ass pipes. Oh, man. It's horrible. Yeah. My whole family was like, yo, don't drink the water by their house. I'm like, I'm fine. What the fuck?
I turned out fine. I turned out fine. I drank out the hose.
No, yeah. The hose was good. I don't know.
The hose was the best water because we were really thirsty.
I don't know why fluoride is such a big thing with people. People are always worried about fluoride being in the water.
So too much fluoride can cause harm.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, didn't know that.
Yeah. It's great for your teeth, but that's why they say, like, don't swallow the toothpaste because of the fluoride.
Wait, so you don't eat toothpaste?
No.
Alright, I'm just...
No, like, they say, rinse your mouth and spit. Don't swallow because of the toothpaste. So, yeah. Tell me a little bit more about your views. I'm very progressive. So New Jersey has about a minimum right now because the last couple of years I did go review the budget. And there's a lot of money being wasted for useless things. So we have a minimum of right now $3 billion we can redirect and put back into communities or put back into basic necessities we need. We can even level out the housing market in order for, like, remove the barriers so people could buy houses or even lower the rent prices. And then we could eventually put a percentage cap on it, and so that way one person with working one job, they should be able to afford food, electric, water, cell phone bill, and rent with one paycheck. It's ridiculous that you have to work 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 jobs and have like 12 different side hustles for that just to afford your basic necessities. So very progressive. I believe in universal health care, and if it's not passed on a federal level, we can separate New Jersey and do it on a state level. I also believe in redesigning incarceration. We need to turn it more into a rehabilitation facility. So gosh, how do I break incarceration down? The way it's set up for failure. Where people, when they go into jails and prisons, they leave more traumatized because, do you know anyone that's been in prison?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sure they have war stories.
Shout out to Rob, free my guy.
I'm sure they have war stories. Survivor stories.
I don't know. Like, the two of them, I feel like they should have gone to prison. They're a little bit better than they are out of the real world.
Well, I'm not saying... Wait. I'm not saying... If somebody's committed a crime, they do need to be sent away. But instead of going to prison where it amplifies the trauma, and then also, look, it does really...
No, it's with the law shifts, like, so I feel like they set everybody up for failure via law shifts. Like I had a lot of friends, their first jail time was cannabis. Now it's like,
that's
Phil
ridiculous.
Murphy's like, hey, bro,
and there are some people still in prison on that.
I know there's people that are
ridiculous.
It's like, think about that. That's
insane.
Yeah, that's, I don't know. I fuck with normal on that thing a lot.
So, like, if a person, instead of catch and release, or instead of, you serve your time, and then you wind up going back out in the world, you learn new skills to be more, what's the word? You learn more...
Really likes the soul music that's playing in the background. Probably won't make it to the tape, but it's all good.
Okay.
You become more
well-rounded. ADHD. Distracted. You can't see You do this.
No, I love it. I love it.
But
It's like one of my favorite parts of
you
this
learn
entire project.
more skills, street skills in prison. You learn more
Oh
techniques.
yeah, it becomes a university
Yes.
for crime. Yeah.
Yes.
You're
And
right.
instead of doing that, let's put more mental health care professionals in there. Let's work on understanding why a person commits crime. Let's work on, reducing triggers if a person's struggling with certain addictions, even though I don't believe if someone struggles with a disease, they should go to prison.
Yeah.
Working on more humanitarian.
Speaking about that. So there's it's just coming back, right? So I left New Jersey around like 2010. I don't know what the pillow is.
So I don't get distracted anymore.
Oh, what's it called? Yeah, I left New Jersey around like 2010, and 2014. I lived around 2014, and then like the opioid crisis, I think like really started to get like heavier. It got like
Oh
like,
my
a little-
gosh!
yeah,
Don't even
like,
get me
complete-
started on the. We don't. Okay, so I worked at a detox too.
Okay.
All right. So besides working in a prison at one point, I worked at a detox. I worked at a whole bunch of places where you just see different levels of messed up stuff.
Yeah.
So working in detox, the insurance company should not be in charge of whether a person gets treatment or not. It's between the doctor and the patient. And I would literally have people withdrawing from heroin, needing treatment, knowing that there's fentanyl in the stuff, knowing that there's a risk of overdose and dying, and they're begging to come in because they're so scared. They want help, and the barrier is these insurance companies will sit there and say, "It's not my problem. We don't think they're sick enough."
What?
I'm just like, they're dying right now. They have to come in full-blown withdrawal. Are you kidding me? And I would fight with them. Even the doctor would fight with them. And then sometimes, we would just have to like literally eat the cost of treatment. We couldn't do it all the time.
Yeah.
But it was just, the insurance companies will say, literally, it's not our problem. Tell them to try again tomorrow. And then once you get denied, you have to wait a 24-hour period to try again tomorrow. And it was just the most heartbreaking thing because I would literally sit there and see them and I would have to deliver the bad news and say, "I'm so sorry that you can't come in today."
Yeah.
And a lot of them would cry.
Yeah.
And then it's just,
Yeah.
what do you do at that point?
Jesus.
And then what I would do, because working in the addiction field is, you start developing different connections and relationships with other people in different areas. And then like you call them up and say, "Hey, I have this guy or girl and they got denied on our end, but can we try and get them on your end?" And because if you went from hospital to hospital, that was different versus if you tried at the same hospital or same detox within 20. Insurance is weird. And it was more focused, and then the management was more focused on the money instead of the human beings. So eventually that set me off and I had to leave there. And they were just like, "Oh," and I want to put this out there. I worked during the beginning and throughout COVID in this detox, and how it was set up, besides the poor PPE, it was, they came to me first. Only if they got accepted did we test for COVID. And it was me, a nurse, and a secretary. So all three of us would be exposed. And then on a daily basis, we had no idea what was going on. And then it got to the point where it's just like, whatever happens, happens. And they're just like, "Oh, stay 6 feet." As how am I supposed to stay 6 feet if this person just fell over for a seizure? I have to go grab their head, or they're vomiting because they're going through withdrawal and they can't stand. How am I supposed to stay 6 feet away from these people? What am I supposed to do? The person's having a seizure, just say to them, "Roll over yourself." They can't control that. And make sure that they're not choking on their vomit and that there's something comfy under their head, or like this person's clearly presenting signs of a freaking heart attack. So it's like, okay, I have to, and they're sweating and they're about to fall over. I have to go and grab them. it was just, we put our lives on the line, and neither of us regret it, and thankfully neither of us got COVID throughout this time. It was just a wild experience, because management even said, let's double up the rooms, let's do this, let's do rapids instead of PCR. And the doctor would fight back and say, no, we need PCR. We cannot expose people. Until we understand COVID, we cannot expose people to possibly having COVID. And rapid's only 50% accurate. PCR is 100% accurate. And so management was, we want money, we want money, we want money. Not, these are human beings, we have to protect them. Not these are human beings, we need to give them the best treatment. And it was stressful. And sometimes they would get mad at me, because sometimes the patients needed extra attention. And I'll never forget this one guy, and he stays with me, and I'm so beyond thankful that I took the time with him, because people rush. And working in this field, you can't rush all the time. Yeah, there are some people you meet, they're just like, okay, send me here, I'll do this, and blah, blah, blah. They're about the move. But there are some people that really have disabilities or cognitive limitations, or they really just don't know. So you have to make sure that they understand. And this one guy, he came in and he had full-blown AIDS, going through withdrawal, and the insurance company said, he's not sick enough, we don't care. Yeah. And I'm just like, and then I'm talking to him, and he doesn't seem he was somebody with a delay, and he was just like, I also need to get back on my AIDS medication. And he was like, I lost a lot of weight too recently, and I think it was from heroin. And my heart dropped at that moment, because I knew the answer. I was like, sir, how long have you been off the medication? And he was just like, about a year. I was just like, okay, so now we're dealing with heroin, and we're dealing with someone that just lost a lot of weight with blood
cells.
Yeah, with AIDS and no medication. And I'm just like,
Jesus.
And management was just like, no, send him out. I was like, and I had to put my foot down. I was like, I need you to fire me before I send him out. I need to make sure that this man is set up for success. And then on top of it, he's just like, yeah, I just had a baby. I'm like, wait a second. Sir, how? Oh yeah, me and my girlfriend she doesn't have HIV, and I think it's fine, because I've been fine for a year without the medication. And I'm just like, oh my God, sir. Like, and I was like, you know what? I had to take a step back, because I was like, I can't be mad, because at this moment, he doesn't know. This is all he knows. And I was just like, okay. So I called up my friend that's at another facility, and I broke everything down. And I was just like, not only does he need detox ASAP and needs to go to a hospital, but we need to make sure he gets his white blood cells checked immediately. And we need a doctor that's going to put him, and then I learned in that moment, emergency doctors do not re-put people on HIV or AIDS medication. And it was the wildest thing I ever heard. I'm like, how do we not set someone up if they're going to the hospital? Because at this point, for him, I have to make sure he's stable. He's just got a new baby, and he's got a girlfriend, and he's got a family he has to stay alive for or be there for. And I was just like, I have to do everything. And I don't know where he is today, but I made sure he was set up for an appointment. The doctor said that they would make sure that he was set up for medication, and they would pull some strings. And we were able to get him free transportation to the hospital he was going to. And it was the craziest 3 hours, because it's a guy I just met, but it's a guy with limitations that didn't know any better. And we were dealing with not just a cognitive delay, we were dealing with heroin, and then I'm dealing with possibly HIV or AIDS at this point. And the way he was describing everything, it was AIDS. And I'm just like, and then we got a new baby that needs their father. We got a girlfriend that needs their partner and their support. I'm just like, I have a family I have to like go full throttle to protect, and I don't even know these people. And he was just so thankful. He was like, you made me feel safe. You didn't yell at me. You didn't put me down, and you helped me. I'm just like, I couldn't do anything else but help. And I'm just like, how do we not have these supports or these connections currently, or even these programs in place for people like him? And so in 2018, I decided to run. And then in 2018, I started having an idea I wanted to run. I wasn't of age yet, because you have to be 30 to run for United States Senator. And then in 2020, the experience of how detached our current leaders were. Here I am on the front line risking my life every day, and here they are on vacation hiding behind their desk in their office. You're not present. You don't care that these people are dying. I have to, not only was I just working at detox, I had to also provide free counseling to other doctors and nurses that were struggling with this trauma. And then on top of it, I'm going to school full time. And I'm just like, I'm doing so much. I'm trying to figure out what self-care looks like, how to take a break, and how to detach from reality. And it was just like, but every day it was just like sad. And then I remember at some points it was just like, it went from dark and gloomy to, oh, this person has COVID and they're withdrawing, and you're just like, we don't know much about COVID. We're like, is this person going to make it? Is this what's happening? And stuff like that. And then you see a brand new person, and you see them get sober, and you see them go, and they're just like, I'm going to another program, I'm going to continue this treatment, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. And you just feel like, okay, this is what I'm doing it for. Because I just reunited a son with their parents, or a husband or wife back with their partner, or gave their kids their parents back, or gave the parents their kids back. And it was just like, it was a hard, traumatizing time in my life, but it was also a rewarding time in my life. And it also gave me so much clarity. Because clarity with our government did not care about any of these people.
Yeah, they're treating them like statistics.
Yeah, and money.
Yeah.
And how much money can we get from them, and send them away because they're not going to make us enough money. And then on top of it, there's no treatment protocol for fentanyl. And the treatment protocol is, we have to wait 72 hours before giving the medication. But the way the insurance company worked was, if you don't give them the medication within 6 to 12 hours, they're not going to get treatment, and we're not going to pay for it. And then, but if you give if you give Suboxone too soon to somebody with fentanyl, they go into precipitated withdrawal. So it's the worst withdrawal a person really experiences, and it hurts every ounce of their body. And then the chances of them successfully completing detox or even going to rehab just drop down to like 5%, because a lot of people are like, I gotta use because I can't stand this pain, and they run out of detox. And now on top of that, now we have xylazine, and we barely had anything for fentanyl. We have nothing for xylazine. Because
I have no idea what xylazine is.
So xylazine, okay.
Sounds like an instrument.
Okay, that would be a
xylophone.
Okay. Yeah, but
what's a xylazine?
Xylazine is a new ingredient slowly replacing fentanyl, and it is mixed with opiates, but it is. You get it from a veterinarian. I forgot the it's for animals, and. Because it's not opiate, this is where the danger comes in. When a person overdoses, Narcan will not work. Narcan cannot touch it, and Narcan cannot reverse the effects. So what do we do? And this is where our current elected leaders fail, because instead of being proactive, they're going to wait until, just like fentanyl, just like opioids, they're going to wait until enough people die, and then they're going to be reactive. And we need to have leaders that are proactive, that aren't scared to go up and say, we need to figure this out. If you're able to create a vaccine within a short amount of time, you can put that same energy into creating something to help people with addiction.
But I feel it was the money. The money.
It's the money.
The money is what really forced it. They were like, oh, the economy's gonna go. Get Billy on it.
Yep. Shots fired. But yeah, and it's terrifying. And then what a lot of people don't even realize is they think it's just opiates that are really running rampage, but crack cocaine and PCP are very prevalent and still a problem to this day. And the amount of people, and like, it's so hard. There's so many barriers to trying getting people off of those substances as well. Yeah. And we need to remove the barriers.
I feel like fentanyl is the grim reaper, though. It's weird because I don't know. I think it was Freddie Gibbs was saying that he's like, you see like the same crackhead for like 20, 30 years. They're just doing their thing.
Alcohol.
And then, like, fentanyl, they're dead in a week.
Yeah. Well, alcohol and heroin are both. Yeah. Well, alcohol, heroin, and benzos are all the three dangerous ones. I'm not. So when it comes to the dangers of the substances, it's benzos. And working in detox, I will just say that benzos and alcohol terrify me. Opiates do not, because the chances of people do not die from opiate withdrawal unless you have a serious medical condition and the withdrawal triggers that like if you have a heart defect or something like that, and then it triggers a medical issue. But the withdrawal cannot kill you. The use can kill you, which is terrifying. The use can also, for benzos and alcohol, can kill you, but their withdrawal protocols, seeing it in person, what it does to people is actually, it's terrifying. And then alcohol is so sexualized and normalized. Yeah, and what they don't advertise and say, oh, you get hallucinations if you get too drunk. You can go into DTs, which is delirium tremens. If you're going through withdrawal.
I'm sorry, the music is just is completely like that. Continue.
Oh yeah. If you as you turn it up.
You're like, yeah, you get delusions. It's like, delusions.
I was like, oh shit. And I remember, but when it comes to alcohol, especially alcohol, I'm going to say this, which was the scariest one out of all of them, is a person can have a breathalyzer, a blood alcohol content of 0.200 and still start withdrawals. Jesus. And what that means is their baseline to even function normally, because now the body's so physically dependent on it that the body can't function without it, they could probably blow like a 4.0 or something. Yeah. And it's just like, okay, this person's going, and we would have people where we would just skip insurance and they would come in and they would have like a breathalyzer of like 0.3 something, and we would start seeing shakes and sweats, and we're just like, they're about to like hit.
Very scary. Alcohol is a very scary.
And it's like, it's scary on my end because I have family that want you to come home. Yeah. And I don't want you to die on my watch. Yeah. Because the last thing I want is to have to like talk to your family member and say, we tried everything. And luckily, knock on wood, I have put my heart and soul into everyone that I have never, and I will only say this in detox, I've never had someone die on my watch in detox.
Right.
And
have you seen somebody die on a watch? You said like in detox.
In detox, we'll leave it in detox right now.
Okay.
But Narcan Narcan will save lives. And I always carry around 4 things of Narcan because I never believe that one is only going to work.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So
how does it work to like administer that? I'm very actually. Is it like fucking Pulp Fiction?
Remain calm. Okay. Don't have a heart attack, but it is scary because the person in that moment can be vomiting, or they're dying, you know what I mean? And I can't say I'm somebody that would always respond in the best manner, but I will say, just like, no, you are not dying. You're not dying on my watch. Not today. So, yeah. Okay, my very first overdose.
I would wake up just so I don't get yelled at anymore.
Yeah. Well, so if you don't have Narcan, try not to break their face. If you don't have Narcan, what also helps is shocking the body until first responders come. So don't beat the person, but you can slap them to keep them awake. Okay.
How strong is your pimp hand? Just for the
Look, there are people with stronger hands than me.
All right. You have to shock the body.
You just have to shock the body and keep them awake. So my very first overdose was I was working and I was trying to sneak off to be on my cell phone and talk on my cell phone. Yeah. And so I go into the parking lot at my job and I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm working, a normal employee does. Yeah. And then this girl walks up to me and she's just like, excuse my language, everyone, I'm going to quote her. Yeah. I fucked up. I don't want to die. And I'm just like, I'm by myself in the middle of a parking lot. I'm just like, wait, what do you mean? She's like, I did it. I thought I wanted to kill myself. I took the pills, and then she just fell on the floor.
Oh, I'm
just like, oh, and I didn't know what overdosing was. I didn't know anything. And I just get on my radio. I just get on the call, and I'm just like, I think she's dying. I think it's a suicide. I don't know what's happening. And I'm just like, I'm holding her, and I'm just like, hey, stay with me. And I'm so thankful. I mean, it was the scariest moment in my life. One of the scariest moments. I've had scarier. It was a moment that really pushed me, catapulted me to going forward and in the service field and in the mental health field, because not only was I there and not only did I help to save this life, but turned out she was a missing person with 2 kids. And she was so thankful, and she was able to get the help, go to the hospital, and reunite with her children. And her family was so thankful. And I'm just like, if I wasn't there in that moment, that girl would have passed out, because overdoses, it only takes a few minutes and then a person's gone. Yeah. And I was just in the middle of the parking lot alone. There were no other cars, and the EMTs, and people were running over, and this one lady was like, I got Narcan. And I'm just like, what is Narcan? And she was like, stand back, because she's going to vomit. I'm just like, okay. And she vomited. And it was just, but then she was freezing, and then everyone was giving her blankets. It's like in that moment, everyone came together. And then the cops came, and then they started making fun of her, and then we were all very angry at the officers.
Really?
Oh my God, they were just, oh my God.
Cops just gave it his turn.
Well, yeah, because when you call 911...
vomit house, bro.
No, they were like, oh, you think you're going to go to Patterson and get heroin? Ha, ha, ha. You're not getting heroin today. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah. I'm like, this girl is struggling right now. Yeah. She's already at her lowest. Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing? Don't talk back to the officers, Christina.
And that's why the state is taking over the Patterson Police Department.
Oh, that is... Okay, so I'm just going to say this. That is not only the worst idea, because I've been wronged by the state. I've been wronged by officers so many times before. But there was a moment where I did work with them, and I got to see the other side. What this is going to do, and this is why I'm running, because it starts from the top.
This is the state taking over.
Yes. Is you're adding more pressure to the police officers. And human beings can only handle so much pressure in general. And there's already a lack of, there's on average in New Jersey 12 officers that commit suicide a month. There's already a lack of support for mental health. And I don't care what programs that they say, oh, we have this for officers, we have that for officers. It's a joke of a program. And because the officers, they come in, and I've worked with officers, I can't say the truth because this is going through my insurance, and this is going to get back to my job, because if they ask for notes, you have to provide the notes. So unless they pay out of pocket, and they can't be 100% honest in treatment, and or even in therapy. And so you have, and then if they do go to therapy, if they do go to treatment, there's so many politics involved within the police department. They shame and they do withhold promotions.
Yeah.
And
it's a whole community.
Yeah.
The PPA card is just the badge of it.
Yeah, and the politicians are they are who is investing in the war between officers and civilians. Because instead of dividing the money between community programs that actually work, you're putting money and saying, I'm choosing this side. I know what's going to happen, but when the officers mess up, we're going to blame the officers. Not that we're putting all this pressure and all these responsibilities on these officers, and that they're human beings and they're working 16-hour shifts, and it's not a justification at all. I need to make that clear. It's not justifying that, that they shot and killed and murdered. Yeah. And I do want to go into Najee.
Yeah,
because
I documented that rally. That was crazy. He was on the same street, like not too far away. I go here in my girlfriend's house, and it's literally like on the same street, basically. And yeah, man, it was just it's nuts. The Patterson Healing Collective. Shout out to the Patterson Healing Collective.
You guys do great work.
Yeah, no, they do. It's they do wonderful community programs. I think a lot of my friends have actually performed over there. Shout out to actually last episode that dropped. Shout out to MC and Raymundo, Chase Cobains, and everybody over at Right Studio. But yeah, they do wonderful things in the area, and shout out to Silk City Fridge as well. And
Silk City Fridge is amazing.
Joe Moore, Elamani, I met him personally, and Bray, everybody at Black Lives Matter Patterson. There's a lot of wonderful. You know what the thing is? What's strange about this city is that there's places like this. There's all these little communities, and we all just want a better city. And it's we know how we see the cities full, but we're trying to just make it as much as we can, because it's just there's so many moving parts.
You guys, Patterson has so many programs that works. Put the money in there. That's going to relieve stress from the officers. Have them focus more on violent murder cases. Have them focus more on rape cases. Have them focus more on human trafficking cases. Yeah. They do not need to be answering mental health calls. And I'm only going to, I'll say a few things. So there was 2 calls in my career that, actually a lot of things in my career, in my life stuck out with me. So the first one is, I worked Saturdays by myself at this one facility, and we would do assessments, and I would get people on my caseload and whatnot. And this was in Bayonne / Jersey City, so you kind of get I want you to imagine Broad Street.
Yeah.
So I'm by myself, and this guy was supposed to show up, and he shows up sweating. And I see it in his eyes. I'm like, okay, there's heroin, but you're sweating. Is there cocaine, sir? I can see that you're on more than one thing right now, because you work in the field long enough.
Like John Belushi.
Yeah, you could kind of see what substances are what. And I'm just I was just and I'm trying to lighten the mood because he's paranoid. I'm like, I don't think you slept for a while, and I'm just like, is this a little speedball happening? Yeah. And he's just like,
John Belushi,
yes,
got that.
Yes.
That was the box right there. I was like,
and he's just like, yes. I used cocaine right before I came here. I haven't slept in 48 hours. A bit cocaine and heroin. I'm like, okay, sir, you clearly need a detox.
The price is right. Come on down.
And he had the worst panic attack that I was alone, and then my coworker because he lived around the block, he comes down. I'm like, hey, don't leave me alone. He was like, you got this, Christina, you got this. I got my own life to live. I'm just I'm like, bro, you ditched me.
Yeah, and then, you see some shit, yeah.
Oh my god.
Honestly.
Oh my god. If we have time, I gotta tell you.
You're chilling. I think the only thing I gotta do is go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
We have up until 3 hours. So normally it caps out at 60 minutes, but I'm totally down.
Oh my god, I got stories. I gotta tell you about the
shit,
lieutenant in the Aryan Brothers that I met. We gotta tell you that story.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom and pause. I'll cut this in a second.
Yeah.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. I just had to go to the bathroom really fast. A little bit of a delve into the afternoon listening party, which is a subgenre. We just did Zaza Mundo 2 and Suburban Mayhem and From Darkness to His Light by Joshua Robinson. Well, we got a single drop in for Christina Khalil right now.
Before we drop the song, I just want to rewind to Najee. Because
actually, yes.
Yes. Yes. Because it is very important to highlight, as somebody who has actually been exposed to people in high risk situations like that, Najee did not have to die. And here's the evidence why. So, as I was saying previously before, I had the guy come high on a speedball, and he clearly needed to go to the hospital, and he was so terrified of being arrested because he was already on drug court. He's like, if I use, they're going to kick me off of drug court. I'm going to lose my kid. I'm going to blah, blah, blah. I was like, we don't have to go that route. It took me, and this man, and you could just imagine his paranoia. He's like, should I run and drive? Should I leave? And he would keep trying to walk to the door. I'm like, sir, don't, it's just you and me. I don't need you to run away and drive. And that he gave me his car keys, and he was like, I need my car keys back. It was just communicating and meeting him where he was at, and also keeping a distance. Let him know that, you know, we were equal. If I was going to sit down, I would say, hey, you know, I'm going to sit down over here just so you know what I'm doing. How could we work through his paranoia, work through his stress, work through his fears? And this man, and then just imagine, he didn't sleep for almost 40 hours. Do the work.
Do the work. Instead
of causing the harm. And at the end of almost 4 hours, and even though, and I'm not saying it's easy, this is hard work to do when you're saving another human being's life, because within that 4 hours, I'm alone. My supervisor ditched me, said they didn't care. My coworkers were like, we're not coming downstairs because we just don't care. And I'm just trying to deal with this frustration. Would it have been easier to call 911 and let the police handle it? Yes. Oh my gosh, are you okay?
Okay.
Okay. Would it have been easier to call 911 and let the police handle it? Yes. But the results, it's about least harm. And the results were not to hurt the guy, but to help the guy. And at the end of it, I was able to get his wife to calm down, which she was more than willing and happy to do. And he was like, I'll go to the hospital. She drives me to the hospital. And he was able to leave his car here with me, let me hold his keys until the business day on Monday. And he was until someone on Monday from his family could come pick up his car, and his car was safe. So it was nice to be able to segue into that. And he didn't die. He could have. The way he was acting so erratic and impulsively, who knows? Like, he would have been tackled to the ground if the cops came.
Oh yeah,
1000%. Because he was jumper. He could not stay still.
There's just a different. I feel like there's just a different vibrational plane between, like, because the cops, especially around here. I'm actually, there's sometimes, it's weird over here because the cops. There's like sometimes it's like, I'm just gonna look over the shoulder. I don't really care. Like, it's like, if it's nothing big, but when it is, it's like the cops are coming here like they're about to fucking invade Normandy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, every day you're but like, and I understand the point of view of the cop, where it's like, I'm like, yo, these people are fucking, like, because they see like crazy shit all the time. But like, it's, I don't know, man, it's just like, there's just that different vibrational plane of it where it's like the people that they're really worried about is like where it becomes like these completely, you saw The Wire. The fucking, you know, the one part, it was like Freedom Town or some shit. I don't know what it was, but where they had that, like, the decriminalized zone. It's like they feel like they're about to, like, go into that shit, and they're dealing with a crazy epidemic, and they're soldiers in that, and I understand that, but it's like, you know, you're dealing with somebody who's on this extremely, like, elevated, like, vibrational plane where it's like, you know, their energy is like, you know, it's very, like, you know, defensive. And, you know, I'm like, I don't know, but like, it's not meant to deal with the entire spectrum of it. But like, my grandfather was a constable in South Patterson, and he dealt with the Arab community, and he was a really, really nice man. And South Patterson was like a really, like, distinguished dude. That's actually why I took my name Zeitoun again, because I honored his, like, original name when he came to the country. And he was like a community guy. He would just like, he would just hear people's stories, and it wasn't like, I mean, but he wasn't dealing with the same like, war. Like, what I mean? It is like a war a little bit out here sometimes, but it's like there's not a lot of community policing as much as it is, like, especially in like Haledon and like North Haledon as well.
Yeah.
Those guys are like, I don't know what's going on over there. They're like, nope. Not coming out here.
And the second case that I worked with, it was actually with, I'm not going to say his name, but it was in Camden County. And he called me up, this chief of police. He didn't sleep for like 24 hours. And he's stressing, and he's upset, and he's angry, and he's also thankful at the same time. Because this kid, this young man, he was drunk, and he was trying to kill himself, and he slit his throat, but he didn't go deep enough, and he was so drunk he couldn't go deep enough, and he was trying to slice his wrist, and he was covered in blood, and he was, then the cops came, and he was trying his best to do suicide by trying to go after the cops. They disarmed him. He didn't die.
What?
He did not die. And I can't. I don't know how far hip I could go, but I'll say he wasn't white.
Yeah.
And the chief, the person, the higher up I spoke with from the police department, first off, again, more barriers of mental health. He's calling me. I'm like 2.5 hours away. The people that are with this young man, they haven't slept for 24 hours. They've had him by his side. When they stitched him up, so many hospitals refused to help him. They were like, because he's not trying to kill himself now. And the detective was like, are you out of your mind? He is actively suicidal. Like, he just tried to kill himself and then tried to kill himself death by cop. Are you crazy? He needs help. You can't just let him go back out there. He needs help with alcohol and mental health. And so many facilities are like, well, it's right now. And the kid, this young man, he was like, I want help. I need help. And they kept turning him away. So he called me up and explained the situation. And I understand how insurance companies work. And, I have relationships with different hospitals and stuff. So I was just like, I know why they're saying no, which is a BS reason. It's because of money. And I was just like, this is how we're going to get them to say yes. So there's certain wording. There's certain arguments you make and blah 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 blah, but when this guy arrived, I've never, like, first the officer was so thankful. He was like, he should have died, and I couldn't understand I understood the fear in his voice, but I didn't understand how bad it was. And then when this guy came in young, it was the wildest scene I've ever seen. He had his neck like Frankenstein stitched, his wrist stitched. I was just like, I had to take a moment, because I was just like, he was really trying, and these cops could have killed him. But they followed the same 2 rules that I followed. Remain calm. And that we're all taught, if you actually know how to deal with a mental health crisis, and make sure there's enough space. Never corner someone. And when you follow those 2 basic rules, everything turns out well. So the difference between my cases and those officers' cases that I worked with and Najee's case is I didn't have to see the video. I just saw the picture. Those officers cornered him. When a person's in a mental health crisis, their frontal lobe, their decision-making skills are shut down. It's fight or flight mode that's kicked in. So Najee, they say he lunged. His body, he didn't lunge. His brain is like, we have to run. We have to defend ourselves. We have to get out of here because now we're cornered. His body perceived those officers with the gun in his face as a threat. That was aggressive. That was not needed. You didn't appear with, calm. You didn't have a conversation. You had weapons out from the get-go. I never had a weapon when I dealt with any of these crisis calls. The officers that I have worked with, they've never had to draw their guns. Maybe they've had to lift their hands and push a person to the side, but they've never had to draw guns.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between, and when they say, you know, oh, Najee was some people said he had a gun or whatever. Look, I've dealt with people with guns before. And other people that I've worked alongside with, officers, have dealt with people with guns before. I will tell you this. If a person's got a gun, they're going to shoot immediately or shoot themselves in the head. They're not going to say, don't come in here, I have a gun. And I get it. You know, there is a certain level of risk we don't know. But at the same time, if you let the professionals go in, they might, if you're just like, you know, hey, you know, we can't, you know, let certain people go in because you're saying you have a gun or whatever. If you remain calm and you let the proper people take over, they could alert him out. There is no reason Najee had to die. And it just, it breaks my heart. And, you know, at the town hall with Attorney Platkin, the speaker, that little town hall event, the assembly. When I went up there and I spoke and I said the officers presented in an aggressive manner, because they did. Yeah. At the end of the day, they did. I've been in situations like that, and other officers have been in situations like that, and as long as we don't present in an aggressive manner during a mental health call, no one's going to respond aggressively to us. Treat people how you want to be treated. And the one officer, I guess he was there at the call because he turned around to make sure he looked at my face because he was upset I said that. And I was just like, just kept going, and then I power walked away. But I was just like, oh, I triggered this officer. But he didn't have to die. Yeah. And there are so many cases where the person doesn't have to die. And then it's also a slap in the face where you're investing all the millions of dollars into officers and not communities with programs that statistically work. And again, I'm not saying we don't need officers. That's not, you know, talking down on cops, but they do not need to be involved in every little thing. You do not need to govern every little thing in a community. And and instead of the politicians investing in communities and investing in ways to reunite and build the trust in officers and community members, it's the politicians that are creating this war and this divide. And they're doing it because you could ignore the housing crisis. You could ignore the healthcare crisis. You could ignore the opioid crisis because we're focusing too much on this. And it's strategically placed like that. And then on top of it, then you get officers like we have. I said it earlier, but I'm going to say it again. We have 12 officers on average a month in New Jersey that commit suicide. We have officers that I've treated for addiction. Officers, New Jersey passed a law where they allow officers that struggle with PTSD to still work on the force. These guys want help. They do not want to keep working, and you put them on 16-hour shifts 3 days in a row. What is going to happen? They can't think right. And even if you don't have PTSD or addiction or struggling with any sort of mental health, you have lack of sleep and you have a high level of stress because you got to run to this DV call, then you got to run to this DIFUS call because you got to monitor this kid, then you got this other call, then you got these kids at the end of the block, and then it's a problem.
No, I know how the jumping.
And then on top of it, you got all this paperwork, and they're just like, I don't want to do this, and then you got these overdose calls or these drug addiction calls. They're like, I shouldn't be doing this. Let someone else do it. But the politicians are saying, no, you do it, you do it, you do it. And they're just like, we want relief. We want to let this go. But if they speak up, there's a problem. Then they can get harmed with depending on what department and who the officers are, they can get shunned. They cannot have, if they need backup, they can take their time with backup. I've had officers tell me that. You have to make sure you keep the relationship good. And you can't step on any toes, and you're not allowed to speak up. And you're not allowed to speak up against the politicians. You're not, because it's so political and so dirty. And then you got officers that are just like, you know.
I think people should just be fucking truthful.
But
it's like there's I love Andre. I think Andre is. I think I've lived in Patterson my entire life. Like my family's been here since like the late '50s, and I love Andre, and I love what Andre's done with the city. There's some shit I feel like he's a little meh. But it's like, you know, but I feel like people should just be honest with you. You have to be like, I'm like, yo, bro, you could have handled Najee Seabrooks a little bit.
Yep.
Not necessarily like better. Like he's like he does like he's doing like the directional thing, but like I was there when we were all walking and if Andre just came out of the damn city hall and just said like, yo, like I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sorry that this happened. You just need to talk. Like you're speaking to a melting pot, and you have to you have to be able to go and he faces it, like, you know what I mean? But it's like he's like he promotes a lot of the growth, and I love him for the growth because he's the first time I've ever seen growth in this city. Ever seen growth. Torres was just all bribes and shit. My father used to work for Marty Barnes, and Marty Barnes was corrupt as fuck. So was my father. But yeah, but like I feel Andre, and I feel like there is actually like a push to like bring the city up.
Here's the thing on why they don't apologize. Because apologizing means you admitted you did something wrong.
It's not an apology.
But
no, he did apologize, but he just didn't come out and face like it was not. It wasn't a mob, but it was like there was an assembly of people that were protesting, and if you just got off of the goddamn chair for 5 fucking seconds and just said, "Hey, like I understand and I hear your cry, and this will be addressed." That's fine. Like that's that for me at least.
Yeah.
I can't speak for the other people, but for me at least. And I love the dude. I think the guy is doing great things. I think he's building the first growth that I've ever seen in the city.
And that brings up another point because it is a division, and that's why because people say, well, I'll tell you what some Democrats have said to me. Oh, you have to wait until you're asked. I'm not going to wait till I'm asked because if I'm waiting...
Be proactive.
Well, yeah, if I'm waiting to ask to run for a certain seat, that means that I have to agree to everything that you guys do. And if it's corrupt, and a lot of stuff is corrupt, then I have to agree to that. So if I'm waiting, who knows if I'm going to get the seat that I want or if I'm going to be able to do the work that I want or help the communities that I want. So Russell Brown said this. In order to disrupt the system, we have to cut the line pretty much. He said a whole bunch of other words, but I'm just summarizing into short things. So we have to elect people that understand this complex dynamic of issues happening. And we have to elect someone that understands policy at the same time, because I've written policies, I've written grants, I've managed grants. I've done a lot of startup businesses or even rebuild businesses and helped with a business in Newark, New Jersey for a community and behavioral health for youths and adolescents. And we need people that understand the political dynamic, understand how to write laws, understand how to advocate for laws, and then also on top of it, be a humanitarian. And see that these are people, see that these are families, and see, okay, I see the solution, and I know how we could get there. But in order for me to get there, to make all these changes, I have to be there in charge of the budget. I have to make sure we rewire the money. And Menendez, my opponent, does not do that. Yeah, from 2009 to present, he's given very minuscule to communities, but he's given billions to police departments. And in 2018, it was 2.8 million he gave to Patterson Police Department. Now, how many people died? How did that really make communities safer?
It's weird. I don't know. I feel like I don't know how much of a chip it makes. It's like I know there's a police force. It's a very powerful police force, but I don't know how much of like a chip it really makes when you're adding way more into like it's like a defense budget. That's like I don't know. But then again, I am a little uneducated on
but it's also
the dynamics.
If this is how we rebuild, if you invest in like Black Lives Matter in Patterson or Faith in New Jersey. Or Make the Road New Jersey. If you invest the money into these communities or even the Healing Collective in Patterson, you invest in these communities, they can take away the mental health calls from the officers. The drug calls from the officers. You just relieve so much stress from them. Now they're able to...
It's an outsourcing that's within the
Yes,
community.
but instead of... And then... So what they're doing now in New Jersey, I forgot the name of the program, where they pair up a mental health professional with an officer.
Oh, that's smart. That's really smart.
No, it's not. Because
no, I'm just saying, no, the outsourcing.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's
because
wonderful.
you're still adding stress to the officers that are already dealing with a lot.
Mm.
Just let the professionals in the mental health community handle that. If it's becoming too much, then you call the officers in. If there's a weapon, or if there's if it's becoming a danger, then you say, okay, now we need the police officers in because this is a dangerous environment. But it also saves lives because, for example, New Jersey passed a good citizenship, good citizen reporting, where if a person is overdosing or if a person's drunk and there's an issue, the police will come in, no questions asked, will get the person medical help to reduce death and dying and overdoses. And then they pass an opioid protection act after that to make sure, if people are overdosing, that we can come in, we can save them, no questions asked. The problem is people are still getting arrested and people are still getting questioned. Where'd you get this from? What's happening? They're still being treated like criminals. Put the professionals the mental health professionals in those places for those calls. Just let the officers deal with the more serious stuff. Not saying that this isn't serious, but they're not mental health professionals. And it takes not just years of schooling, but it takes years of actual training and constant supervision and a team of people that you can lean on and say, you're never alone in these situations, except me with all my situations. But usually you're never alone. Usually it's a team where it's okay.
You're a very experienced person.
Yes.
That's what I've gotten out of this.
Yes. Yes.
No, you have you've definitely seen the spectrum of
Yeah.
life. That's yeah.
See, distraction.
Last note of Summer Madness. What's it called? No, you've definitely seen the spectrum of things, and you're really at the base, you're on the front line of things.
Yeah, and we need leaders, elected leaders, that remain on the front line. We don't need people that
are actually in touch.
Yeah, that are not detached. That don't go on their, third federal trial and are above the law. We need people that can go to
I feel like they do a lot of the arbitration of bureaucracy. It's
Yes.
just all a lot of I don't know, or it's just that everybody's gathering people.
Yeah.
Either gathering people
For money.
Whatever. Yeah, either for money.
It's always about money.
Yeah.
And who you know and status of a person. But what do you do for the people that voted you? And it's the citizens, it's your voters that put you there. So where are you when they need you? Why are you ignoring them? Why aren't you helping them? And why do you think you have, every right to have your seat again? You neglect too many people. You hurt too many people. And it's heartbreaking because when my opponent allowed at the end of the day, Menendez, ICE to come in, then now I have to deal with the repercussions of these broken families. And I've had so many people start drugs because of the pain and the trauma of how their parents were removed. Young kids.
So what drove you to run?
What?
What really drove you to run? Was it that type of the repercussion of?
No, you know what? It was a build-up.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you ever saw the documentary Best Kept Secret from Newark, New Jersey.
No.
No one ever sees this documentary.
Was that the one with Cory Booker as?
No.
No. All right.
No.
All right.
No. It's a beautiful.
I watched Cory Booker's documentary when he was running for mayor in Newark. He was like, "Yeah, what's going on?"
No, it's
Doors and show. All right, where?
Janet Mino is a social worker, and Janet Mino is the reason I ran. In the documentary, it's a beautiful documentary and involves a population that, I would fight for to the end of my breath. And when Janet Mino went to Menendez and advocated and asked for the same programs, the same help that suburban communities get for inner city young adults and youths that are on the spectrum of autism. Mm-hmm. You could see in his face how much he did not care. You could see it in his eyes.
It was just a Tuesday dusk.
Yeah, and he sat and then I started doing more research on him, and then I learned how corrupt he really was. And in that moment, because there is a petty side to me, in that moment, and when I saw the documentary, and I said, if you won't do your job, I'll do it for you. And that was it, and that's where it took off from there. So thank you, Janet Mino, because if it wasn't for you, I would have never, ever, she doesn't know who I am, but I know who she is. I would have never gone full throttle. And then we see, if I told you Epstein or Trump or Republican gave 3 visas to barely legal girls that are models, what would be your first thought? You could say what's ever on your mind. You could say
insider trading with the
trafficking,
emphasis on inside.
Yeah, trafficking.
Yeah.
Well, it would appear that they would be called. Yes, but why is that okay that a Democrat does that? Why is that okay that Menendez did that? Because he's a Democrat? And then he's on trial for a 3rd time. But it's okay. But it's not okay that Trump's on trial. It's not okay when a Republican gets arrested. I'm not trying to minimize anyone's crimes. Like, if you commit certain horrendous crimes, you really need to go to prison and get treatment, not sort of rot away. Yeah. But it's just more like, why is it okay for certain people, and it just goes to show how corrupt New Jersey Democrats are, the level, because if you look at certain other states, that kind of level of corruption wouldn't fly in Democrats, because they're just like, we're progressive, we're supposed to be this high standard. So essentially I'm running because my opponent won't do his job, I'll do it for him, but I'm also doing it to rebuild trust in politicians. I'm doing it because I can show receipts. I can show you, I have a whole list of donations I've done. I've been in the community for my entire life, doing fundraising events, collecting donations at, I can't remember the name of this one rehab. I was able to write a grant with ShopRite, get everything for Thanksgiving, and then I was able to bring all the stuff to this one rehab, and then on top of it, for the Muslim people in the rehab, I was able to get them halal food, and this is just me networking in the community. Get them Qurans, get them prayer mats, get them an imam to speak with and contact, and that means a lot, because even with our community, our Arab people, and especially when it comes to Muslims, addiction is so rampant.
Yeah.
And it's destroying and killing Arabs. Yeah. And the problem is, especially when it comes to Muslims, is they shun, they don't help, and that's not following the Quran at all. But that goes into a whole deeper level, because it's culture versus religion. But I need more help within that community, because the first thing that happens when I run into a Muslim man struggling with addiction is we have to get through the shame that he's speaking to a woman. And not just any woman, an Arab woman. Yeah. And I have not met one Muslim male counselor that can help me with this. And I've gone through so much death and despair within the Arab community alone when it comes to addiction, where it's just they're so hopeless and they're just beaten down because they get shunned by the community doesn't help them, and religion's a huge aspect of the community. So if you're shunning them, there's no reason for them to get sober. Yeah. They feel so alone, and a lot of them wind up committing suicide. I learned about one cousin I haven't met, and the way I learned about him, and it was the wildest story. My other cousin called me up, and they were just like, oh, Christina, you have another cousin and you didn't meet him, but you're not going to meet him because he was just found dead. And he died because he was shunned by the community. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then there was a whole big issue because they didn't return. The way they handled his case was horrible. It was just, it's been a wild ride. But Arabs, I want to help the community. I don't want to hurt the community. But then, it's getting in touch with them because they're just like, you're a woman. And there's that whole sexist aspect where it's like, okay, I'm giving you.
Want to receive help.
Yeah. It's like, and it drives me crazy because it's like, when do we put our pride and our egos and our ignorance to the side to accept the help so we can save lives instead of end them? And I'm not saying, hey, I'm going to take control. I'm saying, hey, I need to encourage more men to get involved because I do respect that boundary issue. Yeah. But how do we get that? And opening the door and opening that conversation for that.
It's just a wonderful conversation. No, I'm serious about all the communities and how all the communities are like interwoven with each other. And that's really that's what it really is all about. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, but like I know I'm going a little off track about it, but it's like we've talked about the police community, the mental health community, like like drug addicted, like like a bunch of these things, and then seeing like how beautiful like this tapestry of like this, like, it's not necessarily political climate, but it's like this
but it is
how it's the political
because everyone really could work so well together, except your current elected officials don't want it that way because they don't care when cops get killed or they commit suicide. They don't care if a cop kills a person. They do not care. They've made it clear that how much they do not care. So do you still want to continue with the same cycle, or do we want to break the cycle and elect someone that's going to not only be front lines but does not take no for an answer? I was 6 hours away for one of my clients, and that judge made it so clear he was so racist and so comfortable because this was in upstate New York. I was so furious. 6 hours away, I made him drop that warrant for my client. I scared him into that. And he was, for fun, was going to put her, he was like, we don't get your kind up here. We don't like your kind. I was like, yo, you are too comfortable with the racism.
We don't like your kind right here.
And then this girl, she's calling me up at work, and she's crying. 19 years old. 19 years old. Crying. And he wanted to put her away for 90 days. Over just missing 2 days of treatment. He's like, she was arrested for marijuana. She's the devil. And I'm like,
she is.
I'm just like, sir. Sir. She is not. And I fought so hard. And he dropped the warrant, and he let her transfer to New Jersey. He never wanted to talk to me again, and I was okay with that arrangement. And I was able to work with her, and I got her enrolled in college. It was just like the amount of work I could do on a micro level and the passion and energy I have, imagine that on a macro level. Where I'm not scared of going up against judges. I'm not scared of calling out cops or sergeants or whatever, letting them know that they're wrong. I'm not scared to have these conversations.
Word.
And I know we're not going to have enough time for this conversation, but reparations are totally 100% doable within the budget. We can do it 2 different ways. And
drop your bars.
Yes.
Drop your bars. New York City.
No, New Jersey.
I want you to come. New Jersey.
Yeah.
All right.
And now we can drop the song.
All right. Continue. Oh, you want to drop the song?
Oh, okay. No, but
speak your shit.
Yeah.
Talk your shit.
So.
I want you to slap your fucking grandmother.
No, I won't hit anybody. I won't hit anyone.
No. That's just my personal rap. Funk Flex says like people can go into the goddamn cashier and steal money. I don't know. I'm like,
no. Oh my god.
So it's all right. Reparations.
Yeah, so this is going to be another hour conversation, and
Give me the. I don't know. Yeah.
you know what? I want people to be hungry for that one.
All right.
There's two different ways we can do this.
Soon.
Yes. You guys better request that I come back and break this down. There are two ways we could do reparations, and there are many people that the ones that I have shared it with, they're just like, let's get this done now, and it can happen.
It can happen.
It will happen under May.
So we're about to drop this song right now.
Yes.
Let's see, YouTube. All right, ladies and gentlemen. CK24.
Yeah, we got it, we bout it. We came to change the optic. No more taming topics. Let's all change the logic. No more games, things been the same. Ain't do nothing about it. It seems kinda toxic. Now it's time we shout it. Came from nothing to something. Nobody can't tell me nothing. No reason to come here frontin'. Time for somebody trusting. And I can't lie and I can't try to even play no games. We know why inflation high and the currency's a shame. We pay taxes, but where does it go? Security, yay, far from the low. Homeless team vets on the streets and it shows. Poverty to robberies, that's how it goes. Constantly, commonly, property forming the cities. My pockets are taking a blow. Honestly, consciously, we can't continue this flow. It's time for a change for you know. Yeah, we got it, we bout it. We came to change the optic. No more taming topics. Let's all change the logic. No more games, things been the same. Ain't do nothing about it. It seems kinda toxic. Now it's time we shout it. It's time we see more. No more detours. What we need more. CK24. It's time we see more. No more detours. What we need more. CK24. Let's go. Fighting the man with plans, knowing they don't give a damn. Policy's full of sham. We understand the scam. It's time for all these scammers to scram, man. We make an advance. All we need is a chance to break from the trance. We from the garden, I beg your pardon. Squadron deep like Spartans. No time to hearken. You're watching big dogs over here. We barking. Parallel to the streets we parking. Chance behind the doors we knocking. Keep shocking while they keep mocking. History with y'all embarking. Got it, we bout it. We came to change the optic. No more taming topics. Let's all change the logic. No more games, things been the same. Ain't do nothing about it. It seems kinda toxic. Now it's time we shout it. It's time we see more. No more detours. What we need more. CK24. It's time we see more. No more detours. What we need more. CK24. Let's go.
Christina, Amira, Khalil.